Hi, Wednesday the 30th of October. We've had some great comments actually after the video yesterday was posted. I must read a couple of these out because I just think they're so apt. Sandy Lou writes that she's feeling teary and weary. And I thought that was great because that kind of describes water. And then Jane says that her friend said she was feeling a tense shutting down. And I love that one too. When you think about it, actually, this time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere is a shutting down. It's a shutting down of nature. It's going into hibernation. And I think this whole thing about hibernation and water and the feminine and retreating, the dark waters retreating or pulling down, even gravity pulling in. I've been thinking about that, and therefore I think it's useful to go back to the beginning. And I'm always saying this, go back to the beginning and look at the basics. And the basics are the two polarities, the masculine and feminine. And of all of the elements, I think water has to be the one to be considered the actual primordial substance. I was just thinking earlier about the Greeks and their take on water. And just one second, because I've got something here that I want to just bring up. Oh, I think I've lost it now, haven't I? Probably. Yeah, it was, I tell you what it was. It was to do with the fact that water was there in the beginning. So this was taken out the Deveni papyrus, and water existed before everything else. It is the primal substance, and light happens to it. Now, this is something really worth dwelling on, because you're getting into one of the great spiritual mysteries when you develop this in your own thinking. So let's look at that again. So in the beginning, when there's nothing, there is darkness. And then light happens to the dark. Light fills the dark. The dark is there in the beginning. And this actually was taken from, as I say, the Deveni Papyrus, which was written by an Orphic. There was a whole religion or spiritual belief system around Orphism, the Orphics, and a very interesting one at that. Also made a great contribution to spiritual mysteries, because I suppose everybody has always wanted to know what is in the beginning, what was the original thing, because you feel then that you're getting to the truth, you're getting to God, if you like, or the divine. So for Thales, one of the great philosophers, for him the origin was an indefinite expanse of primeval water. In Babylonian thinking, and a lot of our astrology comes from Babylon. The geometry comes from Egypt, but knowledge of the planets comes from Babylon. And the Babylonians had a primordial seawater called Tiamat, who was married to Apsu, who was the freshwater, and she was the seawater. She could also be a big monster. And so they had this thinking again of the original substance of water. And I think actually if we're looking at that, then what we do have to do is think about the fact that that is Scorpio, because Pisces takes a position which is higher than that. It takes a position of the divine, where water in the cosmos and higher water, if you like, is represented. Now, you can go two ways on this, but for me, Scorpio has to take it. it's the fact that it has the germination of the seed, that Scorpio is involved in sexual reproduction. Pisces has nothing to do with sexual reproduction. Pisces is more about the dissolution and the forgiveness and the great big love, the love of a divine existence or a divine essence, and love with a capital L. So I do think we have to take Scorpio as being the very mysterious material that will talk to us or tell us about the original substance and its depth. Okay, so because I wanted to look at that, I then pulled up something that I want to go back to, and it's the list which is in my new book, The Easy Way to Learn Astrology. Only £13, very cheap. You can get it at any bookstore. Amazon sells it worldwide. I want to go back to the polarity or the duality and some of the keywords for feminine, because I think as we are entering an extraordinary feminine time, and that in real depth, in the shutdown, in the hibernation, in the shutting down, really begins tomorrow in its final phase. I think what's helping today out is the moon is in Libra. And with a moon in Libra, it's at 16 degrees at the moment. Juno's still in Libra. Vesta's in Libra. I think we're getting enough air in there for actually to actually think about things. When I say think, I mean consider, use our brains, work things out, empty the filing cabinets of the mind, bring them to the fore so that something can be examined mentally. When we are going right to the bottom of the deepest deep, which we are doing tomorrow for a couple of days, it is no longer possible to use those mental filing cabinets. The organization of memory is missing. That's a big difference between air and water. The organization of the information, the logic, the library, the internal library. Okay, so while we've got some air in the sky, I want to look at and examine the feminine and these keywords that I put into this comparison with the masculine. Because when I'm in that dark place tomorrow, I know I won't be able to do it. It will just be an experience of feelings, emotions, something that I don't normally get to feel. So I want to leave that for tomorrow, and I want to do all my mental stuff today. Okay, so there we again looking at the fact that yin, feminine, is about the valley, the depth, and the downwards movement and the inwards movement, always pulling down, pulling in. And valley and depth, they come up quite often with myths, spiritual stories, mysteries, that kind of thing. And it's always the valley and the deep is the feminine. So I'm always saying this, it moves in curves, but also in spirals. Spirals are just raised curves, aren't they? The dark. So the dark is there and the light hovers over the dark or enters the dark. The dark is the primal existence. In this case, it goes side by side with our unconscious, because then dark is taken to mean something that has no light cast on it and therefore is hard to decipher, something that can't be recognized because it's in the dark. It has no lighting to allow us to see all the different aspects of it. Okay, therefore unconscious, and anything that we hold in our dark side, our shadow side, our unconscious side, call it what you like, it's all the same thing. Okay, so it's like where I say the collective unconscious, this is an individual unconscious. So this unconscious is receptive and passive. It waits, it broods, it's silent. And what it wants to do is hold things together. Now, this holding together comes from one of the biggest attributes of water that is obvious to us, really, and that is it clings. So you plunge your hands into water, you take it out, and the water is clinging. If I have a glass of water and it's cold, condensation will cling to the glass and leave a pool on the table. If I keep the glass on the table, the water stays attracted to the bottom of the glass. When I lift the glass, the water then separates. Water clings. And so it's this clinging, which is like the joining together. These things are all similar, this joining together, holding in, waiting, concealing. And I think along with that, we also have to think about the lack of courage. Courage and confidence are really fire things. The female, the feminine, sorry, and the yin are very much about doubting and not being sure, being hesitant, just waiting, really. Don't want to push anything, don't want to push luck. There's a great deal of power in this. And it's like it's just standing and waiting. I mean, this is what the feminine does. If you think about the other feminine element, earth, bucket of sand, right? Put the bucket of sand down. How far does it travel on its own? It just waits. So, all very interesting stuff, I thought. And when you're down in there thinking about the dark or thinking about nothing, it is like an empty place, but all that's missing is our ability to articulate, to examine, to extrapolate, to logically deduce and measure and locate. That's what's missing. This is our minds at work. That is air at work. And that is just so easy for us and makes such sense of our lives. When we take air out of it, well, not completely out of it, the chart doesn't say it's gone completely, but it's the amount of water that is pervading or invading. When we take air out of it, then we're left with this complete, I'm just trying to sort of imagine it in my head, and as soon as I start to imagine it, I just go, and there isn't anything else to say. It's like settling in the silt at the bottom of the ocean, and then just waiting. You just be aware. There is nothing the mind can do. It can only really just take it in, exist, and wait. If you get a sense of that, then you're really getting a sense of the water element in astrology. And this is invaluable. It really, really is. When you know these elements inside out, there is nothing can stop you from understanding everything. Everything becomes, you reach the end of the journey, the questing, you reach the truth. You've got it then. And that's when you go, ah, it's just, anyway. So what I'm going to do actually is share with you. I'm just going to share looking at the chart for today. So 1 second, let me just get this. Here we are. And it's that one. Okay. So we've got the sun now at 7 degrees of Scorpio. Let's add 12 to this. So in actual fact, I'm adding 12 degrees, by the way, because that's the amount that the moon moves in a day. So adding to that, we're still going to have a moon in Libra tomorrow. So I apologize for that. What I'm saying is when the moon has moved into Scorpio, that's when you'll get this real sense of the depth that I'm talking about. As long as that moon is in Libra, then we've got something there that can help us out. Having said that, when the moon starts to get to 28 degrees, to be honest, it can see Scorpio at this point. So I'm sort of arguing with myself here. And at that point, we've got Juno there and Haumea, so feminine, both of them. So I'm thinking actually that by this time tomorrow, we've lost any usable Libra. Let's put it that way. Right, something else we have today, which we won't have tomorrow, is Mercury at 25 degrees of Scorpio and Uranus at 25 degrees of Scorpio. This is lending us something for today. And it is the fact that with Mercury, air planet, and its higher octave, Uranus, air planet, I just stopped sharing for a moment. With its higher octave Uranus, again, we're given that facility, that ability to separate, to differentiate, to consider, to examine, to compare. All of these things are air-led. I'm just taking this chart into, and I'm hoping it's going to work for me, into a dynamic. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to share again so we can actually look at tomorrow's chart. I think that will be important. Here we go. And it's on that one. And share. Okay. Right. Okay, so this is today's chart again. What I've done is I've put it in a program so that I'm able to move it on. So I'm moving it on to this time tomorrow, and it's sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK. Right, let's just move you forward a day. Yeah, the moon will be at 28 tomorrow, and to be honest, it will start to collapse then. We will start to move into the valley then, because it's just so close at that point, and these two are going to shade it as well. Now, at that point, Mercury is just really losing sight of Uranus at that point. So, going back to today and talking about Mercury and Uranus, okay. One of the things that they're doing is highlighting the feminine because they are on an axis, which is a feminine axis, Scorpio at one end and Taurus at the other. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. This is the energy that I am really punching for next year. I really think this energy is going to be really kind of dragging us into new kinds of understanding, awareness, paradigms, call it what you like. I think it's going to be exciting. Okay, Uranus as a planet is a very different animal to the rest of the planets out there in the solar system. Most of the solar system spins on an axis, which is north to south. Having said that, when you're out there, there is no north and south. These are just our earthly coordinates, but we've got to call it something. So most of the planets are spinning on an axis. Uranus is completely different, has an axis like that and spins that way. So this is just an example of how very eccentric, different, and original this planet can be. As the highest air planet for the moment, it has extraordinary access to immense amounts of new science, new information, bold ideas. I mean, it's a real space traveler, this one. It's all your sci-fi, your Stargates and your Star Wars and your Star anything else. um, it's brilliant for ingenuity. brilliant for invention, brilliant for science, and just a great big air planet, really. Just, grab a hold of something and you're able to fathom it out with Uranus. Mercury can take Uranus's ideas and essential abilities and bring them very much into our conscious understanding, because that's what Mercury does. It communicates. It helps us bring things into a place where we can understand them with our little brains. So Mercury is doing a good job now at interpreting Uranus. And I'll be honest with you, I feel totally different. I don't feel as if I'm saying one thing and another thing's coming out, or don't feel as if I'm losing the plot today at all. I feel much sharper now. I don't know what you think. In fact, it's probably still a blonde bimbo, but anyway, I personally can feel this difference. I'm looking forward to tomorrow and the next day. I'm not too sure if I'll be making a video. I think I'll probably be just like, can't speak. But anyway, okay, stop the share. That's that. That's that. There we go. So I hope that's useful. I'm really loving the experience that we've got here, the potential. With this opportunity to understand something that is quite rare. That we don't often get this really kind of like great chart for doing one thing in particular, and that is understanding the depth of the deepest part of water. So great, love it, love it all. Okay, and so I'm going to now press this thing. And it was lovely talking to you. Thank you. It was great. If you haven't got that book, The Easy Way to Learn Astrology, I would get it now, because you know what happens. They sell out and then there aren't any. So I would get it if you haven't got it. I think it's absolutely essential. If you put that book with these videos, if you're following them, you've got everything you need. You'll be an amazing astrologer in a year's time. Yes, it will take you a year, sorry. Anyway, there you go. Just love it. Okay, I'm going to speak to you soon. Okay, nice seeing you. Bye.